In the bustling waiting lounge of Chicago's International Airport, the atmosphere was charged with movement and noise. Travelers rushed about, carrying their bags, while announcements echoed through the loudspeakers. Amid this chaos, Karen, an American woman in her late 50s, sat on a waiting bench near the boarding gate. Dressed in an elegant coat, her short white hair gave her an air of arrogance. Her eyes betrayed clear tension and displeasure. Karen was heading to New York for an important business conference, where she worked as an executive director at a major company. However, she harbored deep prejudice towards certain cultures, shaped by personal experiences that left her fearful and suspicious. As Karen checked her phone, a woman wearing an elegant black hijab and carrying a small handbag approached her. Amira, an Arab woman in her mid-40s with calm features and eyes reflecting kindness and patience, greeted her with a gentle smile and said, "Assalamu alaikum. Is this seat taken?" Karen gave her a quick, disdainful glance before returning to her phone without responding directly. After a moment of silence, she said in a curt tone, "There are other seats available over there. Find one." Surprised by Karen's harsh response, Amira maintained her composure and replied, "All right, thank you." She quietly walked away and sat at another bench farther off. But fate brought them together again when boarding began. Upon reaching her seat in economy class, Karen saw Amira sitting by the window in the adjacent seat. A tightness gripped Karen's chest, and she paused, staring at Amira with a mix of disgust and anger. Turning to a nearby flight attendant, she said sharply, "I can't sit here. I want another seat now." The attendant looked at Karen with surprise, then at Amira, who was calmly gazing out the window. The attendant asked, "Is there a problem with the seat, ma'am?" Karen replied in a loud voice, deliberately ensuring Amira could hear, "I'm not comfortable sitting next to this woman. I want my seat changed immediately," Karen said. Amira heard her words but remained calm, showing no reaction. The flight attendant tried to defuse the situation, saying, "Ma'am, please calm down. I'll check if another seat is available, but the plane is nearly full. Please take your seat so we can depart on time." Karen refused to sit, standing in the aisle and raising her voice. "No, I won't sit next to her. Don't you understand? This is unacceptable. I shouldn't have to deal with this." Other passengers began to notice the scene, and Amira felt embarrassed but stayed silent. Another flight attendant intervened, saying, "Ma'am, if you don't sit, we'll have to delay the flight, which could cause problems for everyone." At that moment, Amira looked at Karen and said in a calm but firm tone, "Ma'am, if you're uncomfortable, I can switch seats if possible. I don't want to disturb anyone." Karen, angered by Amira's intervention, responded sarcastically, "Oh, now you want to be nice? I don't trust people like you, and I don't want to sit next to you. That's it." The cabin fell silent for a moment. Karen's words were harsh and laden with prejudice. The flight attendant, shocked, tried to maintain control and said, "Ma'am, that kind of talk is unacceptable. Please sit, or we'll have to take further action." After a lengthy discussion, Karen reluctantly agreed to sit, but placed her bag as a barrier between herself and Amira, muttering angrily. Amira remained composed, pulled a small book from her bag, and began reading quietly. But Karen couldn't stop herself from making biting remarks. In a tone full of disdain, she said, "Why do you wear that thing on your head? Don't you feel hot? It doesn't belong here." Amira looked at her calmly and replied, "This is my hijab, and I wear it because it's part of my faith. It gives me comfort and dignity." Karen scoffed, "Your faith? In America, no one cares about that. You should adapt or go back where you came from." Amira responded calmly, without losing her composure, "I respect the country I live in, but I also respect my religion. Freedom means being myself, and I hope you can understand that." Karen felt furious at Amira's calm response, but couldn't find words to retort. She returned to her phone, though her tension was evident in her movements. Before takeoff, the flight attendant approached again and said, "Ma'am, we received complaints from other passengers about your behavior. Please remain calm during the flight, or we'll have to address this upon landing." Karen glared at the attendant and snapped, "A complaint? This is unbelievable. I'm the one who should be complaining." The plane finally took off, and the flight was fraught with tension between Karen and Amira. Karen tried to ignore Amira completely, but occasionally shot her angry glances. Amira, meanwhile, remained calm, reading her book or gazing out the window. Mid-flight, an announcement came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, Omar Mohammed. Welcome aboard our flight to New York. The weather is sunny, and we expect a smooth journey. Thank you for choosing our airline." Amira's expression changed suddenly. She smiled broadly, filled with pride, and whispered to herself, "That's my son." Karen overheard Amira's whisper and looked at her in shock, saying, "What? Your son? Impossible." "The captain," Amira calmly replied. "Yes, my son Omar. He's been a pilot for 5 years. I'm going to New York to attend his awards ceremony." Karen was stunned. She hadn't expected that the woman she refused to sit next to and insulted was the mother of the pilot flying the plane. Trying to regain her composure, she said, "Well, that doesn't change anything. I'm still not comfortable with you here." Amira didn't respond, but remained calm, as if she knew time would reveal the truth. The rest of the flight passed in tense silence. When the plane landed at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York, Karen was the first to stand, eager to leave. But as she reached the exit gate, she saw a handsome young man in a pilot's uniform approach Amira and embrace her warmly, saying, "Mom, thank God you arrived safely." In that moment, Karen was dumbfounded. She slowed her pace, and when she saw the name, Omar Mohammed, written on the pilot's badge, Karen realized Amira was telling the truth, but what happened next was even more astonishing. Omar approached the flight attendant nearby, spoke to her in a low voice, then turned to Karen and said firmly, "Ma'am, we received a report about your disruptive behavior during the flight. You disturbed my mother and other passengers with your racist comments. The police have been informed, and the matter will be addressed." Karen felt the ground shift beneath her. She looked at Amira, who stood calmly beside her son, and said in a trembling voice, "Is this necessary? I was just expressing my opinion." Omar replied seriously, "An opinion that insults others and disrupts the flight is unacceptable. My mother didn't harm anyone, but you chose to treat her with disrespect. There are consequences for such actions." The police arrived at the scene and took Karen aside for questioning. She tried to defend herself, but the testimonies of the crew and some passengers confirmed her hostile behavior. Amira said nothing but looked at Karen with eyes full of pity before walking away with her son. She approached Karen and said calmly, "I hope you learn from this. Islam teaches us patience and respect, and I hope you find peace in your heart one day." Karen felt humiliated and regretful. She had believed her social status would protect her, but she now realized her prejudice had cost her dearly. After the investigation, Karen received an official warning and a fine, but the real punishment was in her heart. She began reflecting on Amira's words and Omar's strength in defending his mother's dignity. In the days that followed, Karen embarked on a journey to understand Islam. She read about the hijab and the values of respect and tolerance. She never imagined a confrontation on a plane would change her outlook on life, but Amira's patience and Omar's resolve taught her a lesson she'd never forget. Dignity cannot be bought, and prejudice leads to defeat. And with that, we've reached the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and sharing it with your friends. Share your thoughts in the comments. We're always eager to hear what's on your mind. Thank you for your valuable time, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.